Awesome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Humans of Moving, a Supermove Original Series. So get ready to crank up the knowledge and excitement because you just landed in the powerhouse of relocation tales. I'm your host, Ryan Marsh, and we've got a super special guest today, Michelle Cordero, head of social media for JK Moving. And before we get going, just a little bit of background on you, Michelle. Before joining JK, Michelle, you managed social media for a think tank on Capitol Hill. You've also appeared on national news programs such as Fox, CNN, and MSNBC. I've also heard you published a cookbook, and you've worked on creating content for little companies such as Starbucks and General Mills. I mean, wow, Michelle, I think that's probably the longest intro I've given on the podcast so far, and we appreciate you here. And how's everything going with you?
It's fantastic. Having a great day so far. It's Friday as we're recording, so it's a good day.
That is awesome. So again, super appreciative of you taking the time to jump on. I've always been a big fan of JK, and most recently, I'd say probably 10, 11 months ago or so, I really started noticing their online presence and, clips going viral, and just you guys are doing some special things over there. So if it's cool with you, I'd love to kind of get on the realm of social media and just kind of pick your brains on some questions and see what you have here.
Let's do it.
Awesome. So kind of the first question I would say, and I think that's especially for the movers that are listening as well. I mean, what do you personally think is the most important part of a social media strategy, especially with social media kind of it's here, it's there. And you see a lot of companies just starting to just get on board and really try to kind of enlighten their social media presence. So what's the most important part of a social media strategy, would you say?
Yeah, it's easy to get distracted by trends and all of the changes, and social media is constantly evolving. But I would say that the most important thing to remember when you get started is consistency. Nobody wants to follow an account that is not going to show up for them. They want to know that they can trust you and that you'll be there and you'll provide the content. So I always recommend that when you start out your strategy, really ask yourself, how often can I commit to posting and stick with that? So you should start off slow, maybe commit to one post a week. And after you've consistently been able to meet that one post a week for a month or so, maybe ramp it up a little bit more to 2, maybe 3 posts a week. Ideally, I'd say the best velocity to post at would be 3 to 5 posts per week, but it really depends on what your goals are. If your goals are to increase followers at a rapid level, that's going to require posting more often.
And I will say it was a big challenge for me. So back in my previous role at the moving company, I kind of waved my hand and said, hey, I'll tackle the social media here. And again, I'm not a big social media guy. I've got a Facebook presence, but it's more or less I kind of stalk and kind of creep. Obviously, I'm on LinkedIn. But what really kind of drove me nuts is that the first couple weeks I was posting every day. I was excited. I was pumped up. I was proud, but I got busy. I got into the estimates. I got into QC checks, quoting and what have you. And I just slowly noticed that, hey, I was falling off the map. So for me, the hardest part was, being consistent, I think. And I know there's certain things out there and you might utilize currently, but what are some ways that movers can, almost kind of pre-post, sort of say? So if you kind of go back into when I was in seat and where I was, what would you suggest for me where, again, the first couple of weeks I was posting every day, physically each day, going on there, making a cool picture. I thought it was cool. But I know there's certain ways now that you can go on there, spend an hour or two and plug away a whole bunch of posts and almost kind of set it and forget it, right?
Yeah, luckily with the majority of apps, I know specifically with LinkedIn and Facebook, they have scheduling options already within the app. So you can schedule out without any additional software. But Hootsuite is a big one that people like to use. JK uses Sprout, which is Sprout is kind of like the pinnacle of social media scheduling. And you can just spend a few hours plugging away, get it all timed out, and they will go live. Now, occasionally, just like with any technology, there's going to be hiccups here and there. Social media managers crack jokes about the dreaded "your post has failed," which means you have to go in and do it manually. But like I said, if you're just getting started, try and utilize those that are within the app already.
Awesome. And I know one of your, at least one of your posts, and again, I think this was like the eye-opening aspect for me is I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, you had over 400,000 views
Yeah.
in one particular post. And it just, I'm looking at that. I'm like, am I reading that wrong? Like,
Yeah,
how
it
does
was
one
in
get
July.
400,000 views? Like, I feel like that's just an absolute game changer. If you
It
can get
was,
to that
and
level of where you're at.
it was exciting for me because when I joined JK, I knew I could make a difference and I knew I could help, but I always was kind of asking myself the question, can a moving company go viral? Is that something that's even possible? And so when we hit, I think that we're resting at about 430,000 views right now, which when you break that down, we're in the Virginia area, home of the Washington Commanders. That's 4 stadiums, 4 Washington Commander stadiums worth of people viewed one video, which kind of shows you the value in these short form videos. Back in the day, how much would people have paid for a TV commercial to get that type of viewership? But you can get that from a single video posted on Instagram. But yeah, that was exciting for us. It's still exciting for us. And of course,
Yeah.
we're just trying to do it again.
That 430 plus thousand people, 4 stadiums full, all on JK. I mean, kudos to you for doing that. I mean,
Thank you.
I'd love to just get a couple thousand views. I feel like I would make a major accomplishment, but almost a half a mil.
Consistency will get you there, especially with reels posting, at least one a week on a regular basis. You'll notice the numbers will start to tick up.
Let's go. We kind of diving into almost the next question I was going to ask you here. So Supermove is on a big thing right now with trends, moving trends for 2024. And I'm assuming that there's probably the same thing when it comes to the social media. So, I mean, what would you say are some of the trends that, we as movers or just people in general can expect to see on social media upcoming in 2024?
Yes. So, of course, just like with 2023, short form video isn't going anywhere. So, reels are going to be huge within Meta. So, that's Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
In 2023, we still saw link posts engagement declining. So people aren't clicking on blog posts anymore. They want to consume either images or videos, something more entertaining. So focusing on those short form videos is going to be really important. And then secondly, we didn't see as much. We saw a little bit of this towards the second half of the year, but AI is going to be big in 2024 on social media, specifically with generative AI. So using in-app functions that allow you to create your own sort of unique image with AI, that type of thing, or using AI functions to create captions for you, things like that. You're going to see a lot more AI usage on social.
So I guess kind of simply put, you can almost type something in and it generates an image, like a kind of a one-of-a-kind image.
Absolutely, yeah. JK did one for Thanksgiving. If anyone wants to go back and take a look at it, we have a cool one coming up for Christmas. You're going to start seeing those types of images pop up anywhere or everywhere.
That's great. I'm gonna have to take a peek at that one. So I guess for the audience listening, short videos, YouTube shorts in reels, and basically get away from sending content out there where, hey, click this link and where you'll see, because sounds like that's failing or just kind of gone by the wayside. People want that image, that's something that's hot, that reel and what have you. Is that I guess
that's right. I mean, I think that we don't want to get rid of the blog posts and the link clicks entirely. I like to explain it as sort of a healthy diet. You have to diversify your content. So you should sprinkle in your links, sprinkle in your photos, but really focus on your videos because those are going to be the star of the show.
That's all. No, you give me a whole bunch of nuggets I personally can take back to the team. Be like, hey, let's look at this or let's check this out. Now, kind of leading to the next segment. So there's a lot of movers right now that are utilizing social media. I see it. I belong to a whole bunch of groups. Some of it's really, really awesome. And some of it, I'm just sitting there scratching my head going, oh, man, like what I'm not even sure what this is. So, and again, utilizing your expertise, man, I'm having a hard time chatting today on a Friday afternoon here. But what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes that, let's say, movers can make on social media?
Yeah, so the number one mistake that I see, and I see it almost every day, is has to do with sizing, video sizing. I think a lot of people think that with videos is kind of one size fits all, and it's not at all. If you are posting a video on Instagram, it should be shot in portrait mode, so kind of the full length, holding your phone upright. If you're shooting a video that's predominantly for YouTube, not YouTube Shorts, but traditional YouTube, it should be shot horizontally. So turn your phone, long ways. If you had a professional shoot a video for you and you want to use that video, you're going to need to get into some kind of resizing app. Splice is a great app for editing video. It'll help you resize images. And you're going to want to kind of expand that to the size that Splice even says, where are you using this for? And you'll say, I'm using it on Instagram, or I'm using it on YouTube, and it will size it for you correctly. What you don't want to see, and what I see all the time as you're scrolling, is a rectangle and then two black boxes, above it and below it, and, not utilizing this full space of the screen. It's sort of like a red flag saying, I didn't really know how this video platform works, so I'm just going to upload this video.
I think there's, and I'll raise my hand on this one. I'm that person. I don't know what video, what size, turn your phone this way. Like I said, I'm kind of new to this whole aspect, sort of say, but is there like a cheat sheet? Like, how there's the Chat GPT cheat sheets for like prompts and this and that. Is there something out there? Because I know there's other movers that are probably thinking along the lines of myself, or just like myself, are like, I don't know which way to put my phone and take a video or a picture. So is there anything out there now that's free to movers that are listening that they could just click, print, or save and say, hey, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it this way. And if I want it to look like this, I should probably do or utilize these steps, sort of say, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I don't have one I'm having trouble speaking. I don't have one specific
way of rubbing off on people like that.
Or particular destination, but Google is a good source. Just throw into Google, like what's the aspect ratio of videos on Instagram, and it will tell you.
You probably ask ChatGPT that as well, I guess, now that I'm thinking, right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, ChatGPT will break it all down for you. They'll give you the sizes for every platform. But another way, and this I think is another tip I was going to share later, but another way to get comfortable with understanding what it should look like and how you should shoot your video is consumption. So I always recommend, watch Instagram. What is everybody else doing? And pay attention to what everybody else is doing. And that's what you should be doing too.
Just don't copy what other people are doing. I know at least for us personally on our side, we've seen it a few times where it's like, we spend a lot of time on a particular thing, right? Blood, sweat, and tears go into it. And then the following week, there is I thought it was us. We put something out there, and minus the logo and, maybe they changed a slight color on something. They just copied our stuff. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously, I'm
really feeling your pain there with that one, because this is something that I also see on a daily basis with JK's Instagram in particular. It's hard. On one end of it, I'm happy that we are influencing the industry. Imitation is the best form of flattery. So, happy that we're leaders there, and that people are doing that. But I would say that I've seen some where they're literally turning on screen record on their phone and recording the actual reel, and then just cropping out, the extra and reposting it on their account. That I feel like there's a little That's not as much acceptable as copying a format or a trend. So, yeah, I have feelings about
Is
that.
there, and this is a silly question. I wasn't even planning on asking this, but I remember back in the day when I was in college, right? Like I'd have a big paper that was due, and I didn't study because I was playing baseball or whatever the case was. Excuses, excuses, excuses. But I'd have a junior, senior on the team that'd be like, "Hey, well, here's my paper. Do you want to take a snippet?" So obviously that is clearly plagiarism, right? Is there any type of like? It's kind of a weird question. Is there any like type of plagiarism when it comes to social media, or is it just so wide open and so deep that like you can't act on it, you can't do much on it? I mean, I know it's probably a really weird question, but
No, not at
like
all.
plagiarism,
So
but just in a different
I
aspect.
I don't think that there is any copyright type of violations um that qualify as plagiarism. I mean, plagiarism is plagiarism. If you're directly, like I said, screen recording someone's content and then posting it as your own, that is plagiarism. And I think that um, without having to say anything, it's just kind of frowned upon. Like others would know, like, hey, that's not cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
but
JK,
as
that's super moves. Like we're large enough companies that I feel like people know our stuff, they know our content.
right,
So it's like, but again, flattery, right? It's one of those
yeah, but
pieces.
the as far as copying, what's interesting is that Instagram Reels really thrives off of trends. So someone might take a sound and an action, and even in some cases, the same, like a certain way that they're posting the text on the screen, and that becomes a trend, which means someone else who is from a totally different industry is like, I'm going to make that apply to my industry. And so they do the same thing, but the words are different and the actions are different. And so you end up with like, what's a good, like, it's similar to like, you know how dances can become viral where someone like comes up with the dance and then everybody starts doing the dance and recording themselves doing the dance.
My
It's very
13-year-old,
similar to that.
yeah, my 13-year-old is always like, Dad, you see this new dance? And I'm like, buddy, it looks like you're having a seizure. I didn't even know that was a dance. Like, what is
Yes.
that? But it's
My
the
10-year-old
you
does the same. He's the Fortnite dance all day long.
So speaking of like hottest dances, I know we've touched on a couple platforms. I mean, you've got LinkedIn, you've got Facebook, you've got Snapchat, there's TikTok, and then, well, what was Twitter is now X, I believe. So what
Yeah.
would you say right now is the hottest platform on social media?
Yeah. So Hootsuite just released a new report. It's an engagement report that highlights engagement over 13 industries over about 5 or 6 platforms. And the two that stood out the most among the entire group were Instagram and LinkedIn. And Instagram was a little bit higher on the spectrum than LinkedIn. So I also would say Instagram as my answer because with Instagram, it's sort of like a twofer. You get Facebook too, because anything that you post on Instagram with the click of a button in the options, it will automatically port over to Facebook. So you get 2 platforms for the price of one.
That's a good
Um,
little nugget right there. I did not know that. Well, obviously, you can
yes,
clearly I'm not a big social media mongrel by any means, but and I guess that would also work too for a moving company. If hey, if you got an Instagram account and a Facebook account, you only post it on one platform and you're getting twice the efforts, right?
yep, absolutely.
That
Yep,
is awesome.
exactly.
So now kind of a tough one. I would say it's not much of a tough question, but obviously a lot of moving companies that are either are on social media or are not. Maybe there's a little bit of fear to jump on because they don't want to just jump on and they don't know what to do or how to do it. Or maybe there's that fear of am I gonna hurt my company by coming on social media and trying to make some really cool reels and shorts like you and JK all have. So I guess for the folks listening, for moving companies that are, you know, a little bit under the wire and not sure which direction they want to go, where would you suggest they start? So moving company
Yeah.
has zero social media presence. Where do they start? Where do you place them, Michelle?
So I think that it can be really overwhelming when you think of all the trends and all the platforms, places to be, where should I be? I don't know. I would say to start, pick one platform. Just start with one. You can't do them all and do them all well when you're just getting started. It's even hard to do all of them well with just one person. So pick one and start there. And then before you start posting any content, like I said before, start consuming the content, become a user of that platform. I've met a lot of social media managers out there who aren't on social media. And I'm like, how is that possible? How
Yeah.
can you be an expert in your field if you don't use the platforms that you're posting on? You have to understand what's out there and what people are doing in order to replicate that and do it well yourself. So pick the platform and then start just really dedicating, 30 minutes a day to scrolling through and watching what other people are doing. And then from there, I think it's easy to map out a content strategy, which would just be like, I'm going to post 3 different types of content weekly. One's going to be a video, one's going to be an image, one's going to be a graphic. And but that's even further ahead. I think the first step in getting started is just picking your platform and consuming.
And we're all on social media, like, and I spend all of a half hour at least on Facebook every day, right? I mean, I think we all do. So we're already in a particular platform as it is. So more or less just kind of dive in, look what others are doing, see how they're doing it, stay consistent with yours, pick a single platform and just keep pushing. Fair advice, would you say? And I'm trying to sum up
Absolutely.
everything you said there, but now I do have, so we're getting close on time here. So I've got a couple hot seat questions for you. Obviously didn't prep you for any of this whatsoever. They're kind of
Yeah,
fun
I'm
questions.
nervous.
I'm a little nervous myself too. And feel free, like I said, if you can say, I don't want to answer the question, this is too crazy for me, but I think I picked some really good questions for you here.
Okay, bring it on.
All right, hot seat time, baby. Here we go. So who was your childhood celebrity crush?
Gavin Rossdale.
Okay.
You know who Gavin Rossdale is?
I do not know.
Okay, so he is the lead singer of Bush.
Okay.
Do you know the band Bush?
I do know the band Bush, yes.
So I had him plastered all over my wall. And when I was about 14, my mom surprised me with tickets to go see Bush and No Doubt. And it was at Indiana University. I lived in Ohio at the time, and that was my first concert. He recently came to the DC area and played at this really small venue, and I was super bummed that I couldn't go. Although I will say, as he has aged and I come across photographs, I'm kind of like, what? I don't get it, Michelle. Not sure what I was thinking there, but that was definitely my celebrity crush.
Well, I'll give you a little secret on mine. Jennifer Aniston.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I'll tell you, unlike kind of your story, I feel like she's getting hotter by the year. I
I
hope
don't know
she
how she
doesn't
does
see
it.
this, but I see her pop on at the TV here and there, and I'm just like, man, like I think that crush is still there. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, genetics. She has some great genes.
yeah, and probably a heck of a uh well, anyways, we'll leave that one out. We'll go on to question two. What is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve. Hmm. That's a tough one, is it, because there's pet peeves in lots of different areas. I can think one that comes to my mind right off the bat is have you ever been walking in the mall and like you can feel that someone is just like a couple steps behind you,
Just run
but
up on the back of the train on you.
they're not passing you, like you just feel them behind you. I can't stand that feeling. I have to stop and let them pass me. I don't like feeling like someone's on my heels all the time. And that's pretty much even when I go for walks with my kids and I can tell there's another family coming up. Let's let them pass and get by us, 'cause I just don't like to be feeling like I'm trailed.
I definitely am not the person that's trailing. I will blow by you on the left or the right because I'm like a speed walker. I leave the family
Yeah.
behind. We go to the mall. I'm like, catch up. Like we've got things to do. Let's go.
Yes.
Um, I'm going to tell you my
Those little feet can't walk as fast as us, so it's hard.
I won't even get into my biggest pet. Well, I guess I will. I got many pet peeves, but the one that like flicks the turns the switch on that just makes me an angry human. And I'm usually like the most nicest person out there, right? But if somebody has a chip, it doesn't matter if it's a Dorito, a tortilla, and they bite it, and you hear that that first initial bite, I lose my ish, as we'll say. I can't take it. I
Yeah,
can't
there's a
take it.
name for that. I forget what the name is, but you have like an aversion, like some sort of sound
It's,
aversion.
I feel like it's, I want to say mesothelioma, not mesothelioma.
Yes,
It's something
something like
along the
that.
lines of that. And yes, very true. I could be at a restaurant, I could be at Chili's, and you get the free chips and salsa, and the
Yep.
table behind me, some guy takes a bite, and I just instantly, I'm like, I want to cash out, I want to go home. It ruins my whole day if somebody bites a chip. So it's
Oh
like,
man, the chips and salsa are so good.
and I eat chips and salsa all the time. That's like my favorite snack, so to say. But you got just gotta know how to bite into the chip, for goodness sakes. But
Yeah.
we'll go on to the last hot seat question here before we close her down. And this one's a good one here. Who's been your most important professional mentor, would you say?
Yeah. I have been really blessed to have fantastic bosses. I think that my number one mentor was one of my first bosses when I worked at a small newspaper on Capitol Hill. So this was the time frame when I was doing a lot of television, and I was a rookie at that time. I really had no idea what was going on. I was 24 years old, talking about national politics, and really needed someone to like steer me in the right direction. Not only that, it was one of my first professional jobs, right? So learning lessons about what's appropriate at work and what's not. And so his name is Jed Babin. He was the former Underdeputy Secretary of Defense under George W. Bush.
Man,
And he is also an author, and he filled in on a number of national radio shows. And I've actually, of all my bosses, we stay in touch. And, he knows my family. And sometimes a year will go by before we'll see each other, but we'll sit down and catch up, and I'll fill him in on my career changes or where I'm at. But he was just, he taught me a lot of things, but one of the things that always stuck with me was, because he's former military, was if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late.
you
Which
gotta be
has
early to
been,
be on time.
it's been a great, those military based principles that he's taught me have served me very well throughout my career.
That is amazing. And Michelle, I mean, from Capitol Hill to the head of social at JK, your story's insane. It's inspiring, and like I've learned so much from you today. And I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on here with me to kind of just spread some nuggets, sort of say, to other movers that are just not sure what to do when it comes to social media, whether it's how to manage it, how to handle it, or just where to start. So again, thank you so much. What you're doing for the JK team is incredible. Like I said, you caught my eye. I didn't even know it was you in seat, but from where they were to where they are now, it is insane. So kudos to you and the entire JK team. But with that, I mean, I want to thank everybody for tuning into Humans of Moving. We love to have you on our show. So if you're a mover, a shaker, or just as passionate about the industry as myself and Michelle are, you can hit me up on LinkedIn or send us a little note at info@supermove.com. Michelle, it was a pleasure. We'll chat with you soon.